Joining me now from Beijing is Einar Tangen. He's a political and economic affairs commentator. So, Einar, let's start with this takeaway from this China-Russia meeting. These are two top diplomats that have been in their positions for a very long time. They've worked together for a long time. What stood out to you?
Well, quite frankly, it seems like a reprise of the Cold War, post-World War II. What you have is, China and Russia banding together in this particular case because of perceived aggressions by the United States and the EU, kind of a colonial versus the rest of the world. It's unfortunate. Generally, the third rail of American politics internationally was to balance China and Russia, maintain at least cordial relations with one of those countries. But at this point, it seems that kind of thought has gone out the window.
Now we see these newest sanctions. How does Beijing view these sanctions regarding Xinjiang? In addition to what seems to be a new set announced each week for a different reason, what is the likely response, or could we see a response from Beijing?
Well, you've already seen some response. There has been criticism of 10 EU parliamentarians and 4 research institutions on the EU side, and you can expect more on this. Make no mistake, this was a carefully orchestrated situation, everything from the meeting with the Quad, the provocation towards China at the meeting in Alaska, and these sanctions all are part of Biden's idea of creating this new alignment against China and Russia. But, at this point, Elaine, we live in this kind of post-hypocritical world. And what I mean by that is the U.S. starts a kind of forever war in the Middle East, radicalizes many elements of, the Islamic faith. Those spread out into terrorism. China is dealing with the aftermath of that in Xinjiang. Remember, there were many people from Xinjiang, Uyghurs, who joined in the ISIS and other radical movements, terrorist movements around the world. And now China is being criticized for what it thinks is doing constructively to solve the situation.
So when you look at the sanctions, how much farther can they go? Because, we see the U.S. and the West, Europe, as you mentioned. Do you think they're symbolic, or can they cause, or are they causing real harm in these relationships?
They are causing real harm. I mean, this represents an escalation. Prior to this, China had refrained from actually using unilateral sanctions in retaliation. But now it has taken that next step. This does represent a point, a watershed, where things could go quickly downhill. The EU has suspended work on the EU-China economic agreement. You're starting to see a tremendous amount of blowback from political parties who are taking advantage of this to claim that there has to be a tough on China approach. On China's side, the resolve is there. I think it'd be a mistake for any country to believe that China is going to roll over on this. Unfortunately, this kind of tit-for-tat downward spiral is not going to be productive for any side.
All right.